start here in a minute. There are a number of things that are happening in the life of Rossville Middle School that I think are, the intention for that is to kind of improve the quality of life and to make our work environment more vibrant, more fun, more collegial, more interpersonal. Build, not that you didn't feel this way already, but tie us more together as a family and as a learning community and as peers, colleagues, and co-parents. And one of those things that we do is PLCs. I hope people have been doing those and have taken advantage. Obviously, you don't have to go off campus to do that, but I think when you do that, it's very rewarding. We were able to do that, and several of you have done those. I think getting outside of this environment, although this is a great environment, but getting outside of this environment, going to a restaurant where there's no stress, no eyes on you, and just falling back in love with your profession again, engaging on a, I wouldn't call it necessarily an academic level, but on an interpersonal level with people of like mind, around the table with great food. I think it's hard to replace that. We went out there and we had a good time a couple of weeks ago and didn't really want to leave. We all had things to get to, but we could have stayed there for 6 hours and just enjoyed the time. So I hope you're enjoying PLCs and you're taking advantage of that. That's the intent behind it. And then the second thing, and there'll be others that will try to inject into the life of the school as the school opens up and as we move out of COVID, hopefully in the near future. But the second thing that we can do is this, WWE. Workshop Wednesday Extreme is what that WWE stands for. I had to make that little wrestling tie in there, but the point of WWE is to provide you with a workshop that's led by one of us. We don't go outside and outsource. We don't buy a consultant and pay money to do it. We've got a wealth of talent in this building. Content area experts, niche area experts in really interesting things like this, side hustles and that. And we have a lot to offer each other. And so we wanted to come up with this differentiated way to do this. And by differentiated, I mean that this is entirely voluntary. There is a sign-up sheet there, but it's only because you're going to be entered into a prize drawing at the end. I'll let him mention that, but we're not tracking this. This isn't going to affect teaks or leaks or anything like that. Although if you're one that regularly comes, that's going to impress me. You come all the time. But these are for you. These are intended to be low in the theoretical. We're not going to have a deep dive into the value of standards-based grading, Ms. Carter. Get into that. We're going to avoid that kind of thing. We're going to do much more practical things that are useful, that might be interesting, but something that you can take back and immediately start using. And I've emailed a list of workshops that we have so far for you this year. There may be one or two more added. The original plan was to do 2 a month. Just with things being so weird and crazy right now, we thought that it'd be, we could definitely get it 1 a month in. And so we've got a slate out there. I think in December we might be doing 2. We added Miss Carter late. But these are very useful workshops. Miss Kennedy and Miss Hinkle will be talking to us this year about how to integrate the CBE students into the life of the school, how to facilitate interaction between the general population and those students who are some of the most uplifting students in this building and have a lot to offer. And we want them to give of themselves and our other students to give back, and there to be an exchange here. We've got a workshop on the unsung heroes of Google Apps. I've delivered something like this before in the past, but Google is constantly evolving, and since then there have been other apps. These are not your Google Sheets or Docs, but some other neat little Google apps that we have that don't get all the credit the G Suite apps get, so we'll do something on that. Stuff on TikTok, how to incorporate that. We've got some stuff on, I'm trying to rack my brain for the sessions. We've got stuff on how to really push gifted learners beyond their comfort zone into their limits. Refining your fun, I think that's one that Ms. Shaw is going to be doing next. We've got some great workshops out there. Again, these are for you to enjoy, to come in, to open your heart and your mind, to suck this up and soak it in and take it back and use it. And I couldn't think of a better way, a more non-conventional way to start this off than with this particular workshop that I've been really excited to hear, because we're all educators. None of us are making the money we would make in other career fields, so
we're losing money compared to other.
We are. That's right. Yeah, and I think many of us in here have side hustles that we do, that we spend a lot of time on. But he's going to sit here and talk about other ways to generate revenue, creative ways to do that, and I hope you find some value in it. So, Dr.
Awesome.
Neely.
Thanks. Hey, if you didn't get a chance to, there are 2 worksheets that go along with today's lesson over on this table. There's also a sign-in sheet. Again, that's not for tracking. I have a treasure box in my classroom, so after the 2 o'clock session, I'll sign it, put all the names into a random name picker, and somehow I'll get to come get something out of my treasure box. So, yeah, let me start. Give you all a second to grab that. So, just giving a little background, I come by the idea of side hustling honestly. Some of my earliest memories were going to yard sales with families and find stuff that we could flip and sell on eBay. When I was a teenager, my dad was a police dispatcher at Tennessee Tech. Go Golden Eagles. But he actually quit his full-time job so he could flip and sell stuff on eBay because he was making more money doing that than working a full-time job. So side hustling is something that's in my blood. If you've spent more than 5 minutes talking to me, you probably know a few things about me. I love Jesus, I love my family, I love the band Fish, and I'm always looking for new ways to make money. So does anybody in here currently have a side hustle that you do? Okay. Get a couple of you to share. What do you do?
I am a Disney and Universal travel agent.
Disney and Universal travel agent. Awesome.
Wow.
Good to know. We're counting down to when Abit's 4 is what I've been told, and we're taking Disney because my son is obsessed with all things Disney. What you got, boss man?
I'm the co-host of This is Pro Wrestling and This is the NWA podcast. You can follow me, like me on Twitter and social media. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. We do I'm at This is Dr. Stinson on all social medias. Our podcast is at This is Pro Wrestling. And then on Tuesday nights, every Tuesday night after the National Wrestling Alliance comes on Fight TV at 6:05 at 7:05, you can join us for the official post show with me and the other 2 members of the podcast, the Bearded Trio, Gary Horn and Will Martin. And we would appreciate your follows because once we get to it, we've got 200,000 on that one, but on our personal channel, once we get to 1,000, we can monetize. So we've been working toward that. And our boss is none other than Billy Corgan, who is the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins, who owns the National Wrestling Alliance. So very interesting.
Yeah. See, every time I hear Billy Corgan, all I think is Simpsons. Hi, I'm Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins. Homer Simpson, smiling politely. Anybody else have a side hustle you're already running? Coach?
I'm a semi-professional lottery player. I've not yet made any money, but
Yeah. One day. Yeah.
I decorate Starbucks cups with a label or a vinyl sticker. Also make car window decals.
Okay, so I love the idea of upcycling for profit. That's fantastic. Anyone else?
I do alterations and so.
Do alterations. So here's the thing. If you don't have a side hustle, hopefully you'll get one because you need one. Just be honest, and I'll share a couple reasons why here in a second. And if you wanted to start one, but you've never really known where to begin or how to make things profitable, or maybe you were just overwhelmed at how many options there are, hopefully today will give you some tools, tips, etc. Also, this lesson doesn't end at today. You could hire me out as a consultant if you want, but if you want to talk to me as a friend and bounce ideas off, I'm here for you. I'm here to help however I can. I have several friends. I've helped them launch side hustles. I'll give you an example of one here in a minute, and they found it helpful. So if you are interested in anything here and you want to talk about more, just let me know. So this is Chris Guillebeau. I reference Chris a lot. If you've never heard of Chris Guillebeau, he is the guru of all things side hustle. He's written probably 6 or 7 books about side hustling. One of his most famous is How to Start a Side Hustle for $100, or the $100 Side Hustle is what it's called. Money Tree. I first heard of him because he has a wildly popular podcast called Side Hustle School. He does an episode every single day, and I have that on your helpful references on the back there. But one of the things that he mentioned on there is that every person needs a secondary income stream that's separate from the earnings made from 9 to 5. Here's the reality of the world that we're in right now. According to the Federal Reserve, 40% of Americans right now, if they had an emergency, could not come up with $400 without selling off some of their own property. $400. Charles Schwab did a study in 2018, said 59% of Americans are one paycheck away from homelessness or liquid poverty. One paycheck. So when we think about homelessness, we tend to think of people living, under the bridge, nothing else. No, it's one paycheck can make it where somebody can't pay their bills and they're kicked out. That same study by Charles Schwab said that 62% of Americans have no emergency fund whatsoever. So that includes any kind of savings. We're seeing that a lot of people don't even have retirement plans. We are financially strapped as a society. So we've gotten to the point where we have to have some kind of secondary income streams, because as we've seen with the era of COVID, your financial status can change like that. And so Gillibo in his podcast, he kind of got to the point where he's saying, I didn't want to say I told you so, but I have like 1,500 episodes where I've been telling you every day you have to have something in case something like this occurs. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of the wisdom that I've gained from doing this, some of my experience, and some things that I wish I had known when I was getting started. For us specifically as teachers, how many of y'all saw this cover of Time magazine? It went viral. I think it came out in 2018. Can't read it. It says, I have a master's degree, 16 years of experience, work 2 extra jobs, and donate blood plasma to pay the bills. I'm a teacher in America. There was a study published by Friedberg in 2019. He looked at teacher pay from 1979 through 2018. We found in 1979, teachers earned about 7.3% less than the average of all other college graduates. He called that a wage penalty. By 2018, it went from 7.9% difference between teachers and other majors to 21.4% difference. He also found that we have not in any kind of practical way or any significant way gained an increase in our wages since 1996. We need extra money. So that's where side hustling comes in. So what is a side hustle? It is a revenue generating activity that is undertaken in addition to one's full-time job. Y'all, this is not volunteer work. If you want to go volunteer somewhere, that's fantastic. That's not what we're talking about here. We're here to talk about making money. I love volunteering. I love giving up my time, but that's not going to pay the bills. That's not going to get my kid to Disney. Definitely not going to get your kid to Disney.
No, he's an adult price now.
Yeah, he's adult price now. So this is making money. This isn't giving freely of your time. This is finding ways to make money. Generally, side hustles are freelance or piecework in nature, providing supplemental income. It's often related to one's passions or KSAs. KSA is your knowledge, skills, or abilities. So normally it's going to be related to something either that you're really interested and nerdy about, or it's going to be related to something that you can do or that you have specialized training or knowledge in. It's different from a part-time job because you generally do not have a boss and you get to decide how much time you want to dedicate to the endeavor. So if you were to say, I'm going to go get a part-time job, at night as a bartender, well, there's specific hours you're expected to be there, you're on a schedule there, you have a boss there. Generally, side hustles, you have sovereignty over what you're doing and how you do it. So that's what makes it different from a regular part-time job. Again, if you've talked to me at all, you've probably heard me say this a million times. People want to give you money. It's your job to find a reason for them to do so. People out there want to give you money, either for something that you make for them, something you sell to them, something that you do for them. You just got to figure out what that reason is. Everybody wants to give you money. I tell my kids that all the time. They're like, I want a PS5. People want to give you money. Your job is to figure out the reason for them to do so. So here's a little bit about my side hustles. I played my first paying gig as a musician when I was 12. So our kids' age is when I started as a gigging musician. Since then, I've worked as a touring musician and a session musician. When I was in college, I would do fly dates. So if bands were on tour and their bass player got sick or quit the band or something, I'd get calls, and on the weekends I'd hop on a plane or something and fly out and play some gigs. I've worked in studios in Nashville, Austin, Atlanta. So that's one of my oldest ones. Bearded Saints, it's an organic beard care company. If you all knew me when I first got here, my beard was down here, but a 2-year-old doing pull-ups on your face hurts, so trimmed up. Our little cub was actually inspired by Sean. Talking with Sean as he was going through the adoption process, and we were talking about how expensive things could be. He kind of offhandedly was talking about how expensive making an adoption profile could be. So I did a little research on it. I was like, I can do graphic design. I've talked to print shops to make labels and stuff for other companies. I wonder if they could print booklets. And just this past weekend, I sent an adoption profile out to Paloma, California, where somebody in California hired me to design it for them. I've been flipping stuff on eBay since, like I said, I was little, pretty much since eBay's existed. And then I took something that I would spend stupid amounts of time watching videos on Reddit doing, and I flipped it into one of my most profitable side hustles. So I got really interested in watching pressure washing videos. They would pop up on those like deeply satisfying compilations and stuff. And so I started going down Reddit rabbit holes or rabbit trails, and then I was like, I wonder like how they do this, how's the machinery set, what chemicals are they using? And I started researching all this stuff before I ever even owned my first pressure washer. And then when COVID hit, my wife was like, you're really interested in this stuff, why don't you get the equipment and see if, you know, somebody in the neighborhood, because I live in St. Elmo, there's lots of old houses that need cleaned. She was like, probably somebody would hire you to do it. Now I've moved up to a very expensive rig and just bought a truck, and I'm looking for an enclosed trailer. Pray for me, I've hired Hutch as a second-hand helper. So what went from an interest that was like YouTube and Reddit videos has now turned into a very profitable endeavor for me. Just to give you a ballpark, this summer, combining my various side hustles, I made about $15,000 this summer. About 12 grand in cash and $3,000 trade-in at McKay's bookstore. So you can make extra money. People want to give you money. This is just how I found, and I'm refining and finding reasons for them to pay me. So there are 6 different types of side hustles. Gig economy is one of the ones that a lot of people think of nowadays. That's working for a company that provides a service. So your Ubers, your DoorDashes, things of that sort. The problem with those is that often you have to dedicate a significant amount of time to make any kind of profit at all. Because the largest percentage of what you're getting for doing deliveries or doing rideshare programs is going back to the company. Some of the companies have even gotten in trouble because if a customer gives you a tip on the app, the tip was actually going back to the company and not to the drivers. So this is one way some people find success, is doing things in the gig economy. The way I'm wired, the way I think of side hustles, to me it feels more like a part-time job. So I tend to avoid that. The other one that's popular for some people is multi-level marketing, MLM. Some people call them pyramid schemes, however you think about that. But this is normally selling for a company and recruiting others to do the same. If you've seen people online posting about hosting parties for blah, blah, then it's probably connected to some kind of multi-level marketing. Herbalife, LuLaRoe, those are 2 big ones. There's actually a new Amazon documentary about LuLaRoe and how the company's kind of been internally collapsing and stuff like that. I know that some folks do this. I know we have some faculty here who do it. Some people do well. But from what I've seen, what I've experienced, and what I've researched on this, generally I would say run, avoid danger, Will Robinson, because in 2020, the Federal Trade Commission did a research project and looked at the financial benefits of participating in a multi-level marketing side hustle. They found that 99% of people who participated actually lost money. The other 1%, that's not that they got rich. If we were like, hey, 1 out of 100 people who play the lottery win, we'd probably play. No, that was 1% of people who participated in those did not lose money. So can you make money doing the multi-level marketing stuff? Absolutely. 99% of the time, Federal Trade Commission's found you're going to lose money doing it. Passive income. Passive income is reoccurring income based off of your personal assets. So it's using stuff that you already own or you already have access to make money for you. So this could be property rental. If you have an extra house that you rent out, or Airbnb is an example of passive income. You already own the space or have the space, you're renting it out to people. If you've never heard of it, Turo is one that's getting really popular. I use Turo whenever I travel now. It is like Airbnb for cars. So when we went to Austin this summer for my best friend's wedding, it was going to be $500 because rental cars were hard to get at the time to rent like a little like Chevy Cobalt or something. Through Turo, we got a fully loaded Lincoln MKZ, leather, everything, and it was like $270. So that's one I use a lot. But it's still, if you have an extra car sitting around, you can put it on Turo, somebody can rent it from you. If you have extra garage space, there's ones where people will pay you to be able, like maybe they're in transition, they just need some place to keep their stuff. They can pay you like a weekly, daily, monthly fee to just keep their stuff in your garage or in your basement. Investing could also fall in under this. So if you're putting money into high yield CDs or something like that, you're using assets you already have to make you more money. Ad space, this is where we start getting into podcasting. I say ad space, it can also be sponsors based. Normally this is revenue coming from digital sources that you create and you maintain. So, for example, Rob was talking about having his podcast. Do you all do ads or are you doing sponsorship?
Both.
Okay, both. So you have people who pay you to put on the podcast and probably do maybe some product placement or mention them, but also you have companies that are paying to run ads for you.
Right, we have the Legacy supplements that sponsor us, and then Manscaped.
Okay.
It's like the male grooming.
Nice. Hey, it doesn't really matter
We
who
got
it
the
is.
Manscaped 4.0 out now, by the way. So.
Yeah. The very first episode of Side Hustle School was a guy who set up a website about saltwater fish tanks in your home. And he didn't really see any helpful websites at the time about it, so he set up. And it was more so that he had a resource he could share with friends that were interested in it. And a year or two went by and he didn't really think much of it. Then he got a $700 check in the mail. And then the next month he got a $300 check in the mail, and then $500 the next. Come to find out, that had become like the leading authority website on setting up home saltwater fish tanks. He didn't know it, but all these companies started wanting to run their ads and banners and stuff on his website, and he started getting a check every month for a website that he had set up. Blogs can do that, setting up YouTube channels. Obviously this is an area, because of the ease of access, is becoming somewhat oversaturated. But if you find your niche areas where you can kind of become a voice or an expert in that area, or speak to things that other people aren't speaking to, or talk about things in ways that other people aren't, then you can get some of that revenue and some sponsorship money. And you can make a lot of money doing it. Or you can make an extra $50 a month, but $50 is still $50. Service-based. Most people are going to fall into these two. Service-based, which is performing tasks that others can't do or don't want to do on their own. This also includes monetizing your own knowledge, skills, and abilities on other people's behalves. So mowing people's lawns. I hate mowing my lawn. I would rather play leapfrog with a unicorn than mow my grass. So I hire somebody, a former student's parent, who has a side hustle of mowing grass. He comes and mows for me. I pay him happily to come mow my grass, so I don't have to do it. Meal prepping. I know that that's something else we've hired in the past, especially when Ava was really little. We just didn't have time to keep cooking, so we hired somebody to come to our house and prepare some meals for us. Music lessons. Carol, you know drums, you know music. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, who maybe their kids are homeschooled or something like that want, music lessons. Shaw, you are crazy good at editing. I'm sure there's people out there that would hire you to edit college papers for them or edit books for them. Utilize those knowledge, skills, and abilities that you already have to make you money. Then good space, that's going to be selling or reselling products. That could be flipping, which is something I do a lot. This summer, how I made a big chunk of the money that I made this summer, I had the opportunity to buy out an estate sale, and the person was a media hoarder. If we're friends on Facebook, you probably saw the incredible number of books and stuff that I got from. I paid $500 for everything. I turned it into $8,000 plus $3,000 trade-in off of a $500 investment, just knowing what to flip and how to flip it. Food. Shaw always, I keep going back to Shaw because she always brings these ridiculously good looking salads. And she's mentioned before, hey, I might start selling these. Absolutely. Dusty, who I think is going to come to the 2 o'clock one, he conditions footballs for Ridgeland, like breaks them in. And he can take like a $40 football and make it feel like just it's been aged and well worn in. I pulled up the website, Joe, and there's only like 2 other people doing that right now, and they're charging up to $200 for a football. I was like, you already know how to do this. Why not make money off of it? So got any questions if you're trying to figure out what should I do for a side hustle? Number 1 is what am I good at that others generally can't do or make for themselves? Again, always fall back on what are your pre-existing knowledge, skills, and abilities. 2, what is a gap that I've noticed I could fill? If you've ever said, man, I wish our town had this, or somebody really should be doing this, or why isn't anybody doing this? My response to you is, why aren't you the one doing it? If you have that idea, if you notice a gap, capitalize on it and find ways to make money. It doesn't mean you have to be the best in the world at it. It just means that you need to get the ball rolling doing it, and you'll get better with it in time. So if you notice a gap in anything, try to find ways you can fill it. 3rd, what is an improvement to an existing good or service that I can offer? So if you're like, man, I love this, but I wish it had this. Or, you know, I love going to this workout class, but man, I wish there was a workout class in town that offered this. Do it. You're noticing something that already exists, but you see that there's a shortcoming to it. If you notice there's a shortcoming or a way that could be improved or added to, then that means other people see it as well. So find ways of monetizing that. 4th, what is something I'm passionate or nerdy about? Jessica Davis?
Right here.
There you are. You love Harry Potter. This girl is all about Harry Potter. I'm sure you could find a way of turning that fandom into money. So coming from the Fish, like my favorite band is Fish, Hutch had the opportunity to spend a couple days on the road with me this summer going to Fish. And he saw this firsthand, where people were like, I really like this song lyric. I could turn that into a t-shirt. And people were like lining up to buy them. So whatever you're nerdy about, think of ways of how can I make money off this. Then what is an opportunity that I have access to that others may not? Some of you, like me, I had the opportunity to buy out that estate sale this summer. That was something that a door opened to me that probably wouldn't have opened to any of y'all, because I was in the right place at the right time. So if you notice any opportunities that are afforded to you, step into them. With your wrestling stuff, I'm sure there's probably, you know, maybe some of the wrestlers or some of those guys that want to know how to start their own podcasts, or they want to know how to capitalize and grow their followers on social media. They can hire you as a consultant, boss man. So it's something you already know, you see those opportunities, step into those opportunities. We talk about, you know, in Christianity, putting yourself in the path of grace. As a side hustler, you gotta learn how to put yourself in the path of money, all right? So 12 steps. If you read 50 different books, you're gonna see 50 different, you know, how-to roadmaps on how to launch a side hustle. These are just kind of how I think about the roadmap to launching one. And again, this is on your notes. I'm going over this stuff pretty quickly, so I want you to have the resource to look back on. Step 1, decide on your side hustle. You don't have to be married to it, but have a general idea of, I think this would be a good way for me to make money. 2nd, determine, do you have any barriers to entry? So for example, I was talking to Hannah earlier, my wife wants me, I make my own kombucha. We found it's a lot cheaper to make it than it is to buy it. However, because kombucha is a fermented drink, in the state of Tennessee, you actually have to have a brewer's license to sell kombucha, like in stores or at farmers markets or anything like that. So that would be a barrier to entry for me in starting my kombucha company. By the way, we already have the URL, it's Chattabucha, so be looking for it. But that would be a barrier to entry for me. Are there any kind of certifications or insurance that you need to do? 95% of initial side hustles, you won't have to worry with this stuff. But like for me with power washing, I had to get insurance. In the state of Tennessee, I didn't have to have any kind of certification because you actually don't have to register as a formal business in the state of Tennessee for any kind of cleaning organizations. But if I was in Illinois or Florida, I would have had to have specialized certification licenses to do. So think through what are some of your barriers to entry. 3, beta test with friends and family. We've all had that family member that's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, will you try it? You've done it enough for other people, let them do it for you. So if you're working on salads and you're saying, hey, I'm trying to get this salad perfect, I'm sure there's friends and family that'll help out. With me power washing, there were several friends and family that I cleaned their driveways and practiced my soft washing techniques and stuff on their house, which they like because it got their property clean, but also gave me the experience. So beta test on friends and family. It's safe, it's easy. As you're beta testing, refine your processes. If you find that something isn't working, change it. If you're finding that this isn't going to be what you thought it was, because a lot of times we like the idea of a side hustle, just like students like the idea of certain career paths, and then people get into them and they realize this isn't all what I thought it was going to be. Same thing can happen with your side hustle. So as you're refining, if you need to abandon that idea altogether, abandon it. Remember, you're in this to make money. You have nothing to prove if you're like, all right, this isn't working, I need to change path. But if it is working, continue adding, continue revising until you get it to a point where it's market ready. 5th, determine your pricing model. With pricing, it's really going to depend on what you're doing. It could be that you're selling individual products, and so you may need to figure out, what's my profit margin need to be. So cost minus, what people pay me, that you're going to get your profit margin. It could be like for me with power washing, I read so many message boards about how people were setting up their prices. Some people think, what would I like to make an hour? And then they judge, this is how many hours I think that job would take to do, and they price that way. Other people charge by the square foot because it gives them kind of more of a systematic way of saying job in and job out, this is how much it's going to be, rather than just figuring time-wise. Some people like doing subscriptions, where maybe you have your podcast, but maybe you have like a members only. Do you have
Patreon,
that?
we do, yeah.
Yeah, so you have your Patreon where it's like members only access, where we'll do an extra session a week and maybe do some gathering, stuff like that, where people are, not only are you getting their ad money and endorsement money from the companies, but now you have your listeners who are actually paying you to have more access to you. So determine how it is you want to get paid. 6th, determine your name or your brand. If that's something that you want to do, if you want to brand whatever your thing is, obviously I'm into branding, I nerd out over that stuff, and it's a lot of fun coming up with ideas. But if you're just like, yeah, I'm just selling cookies, then just sell cookies. But if you want them to be, Melanie Maynard's amazing cookies, then figure out your branding. 7, seek out your first paying customer. A lot of times after you've been beta testing for friends and family, they've probably told other people, and there's somebody that's ready to give you the chance to come earn your money, or earn their money. After you get your first paying customer, then you can start thinking about your marketing strategy. Okay, I've had one person hire me. How am I going to let other people know that I exist? Am I going to run Facebook ads? Am I going to run Instagram ads? Am I going to post, like living in St. Elmo, we have the St. Elmo listserv. So I'm always posting stuff on the listserv. Hey, just so you know, I'm available to do this for you. I have yard signs, like big signs, anytime that I'm cleaning at somebody's house, I'd get one of these big signs out that say, you know, living on a sprayer, house washes with my contact info. I have some neighborhood kids, if y'all remember the Tapley Boys, I've hired them out before, that will actually just go around and they're like postcards, long postcards, and they'll leave them on people's porches for me. So you have to decide how is it you're going to let people know that you're there. Because remember, people want to give you money. You just got to find a reason for them to do so and then let them know you're available. 9, continuously seek feedback and reviews from customers. When you're first launching a side hustle, positive feedback and reviews online and word of mouth is far more valuable than any kind of money you can make on the front. Because if you make $50, but people go online and say that's the worst $50 I've ever spent, I would never buy that from them again or hire them again, then that $50 you made means nothing to you. So, especially when you're launching a side hustle, positive reviews are more valuable than money. Now, once you have lots of reviews out there, you're going to get some negative ones. If you don't get any negative ones, then people start asking, you know, are they paying for positive reviews? But early on, you need to have as many positive reviews as you can because it's going to be more valuable for you long term than a little bit of money on the front end. Then again, keep refining. If you're getting feedback from customers saying, I love this, but I wish it had this, or they did a great job except for this part of this service, like I wish they would have sent me a follow-up email or something like that, then refine. Do those things. Take the feedback that you're getting and implement it. 11, continue growing in your knowledge, skills, and abilities. Whatever it is you're doing, whether it's making salads or cleaning people's properties or hosting podcasts, continue seeking out. We are teachers. We are dedicated to lifelong learning. It just doesn't have to be your content. You can continue learning about whatever your side hustle is to get better and better and better at it. Then 12, I say set SMART goals for earning and scaling your hustle to hold yourself accountable. So SMART goals, if you've never done these, it's one of the first things that I teach students when they come in my class. A lot of times, well, we'll do this. Raise your hand if you've ever set a New Year's resolution. Okay, hands up. Raise your hand if you abandoned that New Year's resolution at some point. Yeah. It's because normally we set what are called broad goals, and humans are really, really bad about keeping broad goals. Broad goal would be like, I want to lose weight. Well, cool, if you lose 2 ounces over the next year, you achieved that, but are you happy? I guess you didn't go up, so you might be a little happy, but probably not. Same thing here, if you're like, man, I want to make money. Cool, you made $2 this year. Are you happy with that? No. So, SMART goals means that your goal needs to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Specific means you know exactly what it is you want to achieve. Measurable means that you can quantify it. So, rather than saying, I want to make money this year, I want to make $1,000 this year. Or by December, I want to have made $1,500. Make it specific and make it measurable, because as you go through, you can say, man, I need to make $600 more by this deadline, or else I'm not going to meet my goal. Achievable and realistic. All right, I love The Rock. Ugh, I wish I looked like The Rock. I don't. I'm a chubby, bald-bearded guy. But I saw the movie Central Intelligence. Any of y'all seen that? The Rock and Kevin Hart. So if you haven't seen the movie, it starts out that The Rock is like nerdy fat kid in high school. Kevin Hart is the super popular kid. And through a turn of bullying and other events, The Rock ends up fully naked in the middle of like a pep rally at his high school, and Kevin Hart comes in like saves the day, wraps his jacket around him. Skips forward 20 years, and they run into each other at the bar after they've kind of like met back online. They meet up, and The Rock shows up, and he is The Rock. And Kevin Hart's like, man, you gotta tell me, what is your secret? Rock says, dude, it's nothing, anyone can do it. All I did was work out 8 hours a day, 7 days a week for the last 20 years. Anyone can do it. So if I would look like The Rock, is it achievable? Could I look like The Rock?
Yep.
If I worked out 8 hours a day, 7 days a week for 20 years, sure. Is that realistic? No. So is it achievable that your first year of running a side hustle, you could make $1 million? Sure. Is that very realistic? So set realistic goals because you're more likely to stick with them than if you have these big pie in the sky dreams. I'm not saying you can't work and build and scale up to that, but set yourself goals. And as you achieve goals, you can set larger ones. So my goal is to make $100 selling salads. Cool, I've done that. Now next month I want to make $120 selling salads. So make it achievable, make it realistic, timely, put a timestamp on it. Don't just leave it, out into the universe saying, by some point I'd like to make $1,000 doing this or make $500 doing this. Give yourself a date. By May 14th, I want to have made X amount of money, because that holds you accountable. And you can do that in all areas of your life, whether it be losing weight, grading. Y'all, every time I've got a grade, I'm setting SMART goals for myself, and in the next hour, I want to have graded 15 papers or whatever. So set SMART goals. So side hustle considerations. Registering as a business. Is it required to register as a business for your side hustle in your state? That's something you need to look at. So, like I said, for exterior cleaning, living in Tennessee, I did not have to register with the state of Tennessee. But if I had lived in Florida, I would have to. So whatever it is you're doing, be sure that you know the ins and outs of that. And then, if you do have to register, you can decide, are you sole proprietorship, partnership, LLC. We're not going to go into all that. It's just different ways you can set up your business. If you want to talk about the positives and negatives of each later, we can talk through that. Licensure and certification, is there a specific licensing requirement that you need to do your side hustle? For most of you, whatever you're starting with, probably not. But there might be. The example I had, if I was just selling sweet tea at farmers markets, it would fall under what we call cottage law, which means if you bake something or you make food, you can generally sell it. But because kombucha is fermented, I couldn't just show up at a farmer's market and sell it. I mean, I guess I could, but if I got busted, I'd probably get a fine for it. So no, are there some of those restrictions in place for you? Insurance and liabilities, do you need insurance? If so, what kind? My general statement, this is my philosophy, if I'm doing stuff for others, then CYA, make sure your butt's covered and get some insurance. Basic business plans aren't expensive. Even with all the insurance that I have for my power washing business, it's still not expensive. But if you're just making cookies, making salads, decorating, upcycling cups, stuff like that, you probably don't need it. But if you're performing a service for others, you might want it. And then taxes. Is it necessary for you to charge sales tax? Do you have to file taxes for your side hustle? Again, that's going to depend largely on what you're doing and how much money you're making. And for most musicians in Nashville, you'll always hear people say, please do not pay me $500. Pay me $499. Because at $500, you have to put it in as a 1099. If you're making less than that, then it goes on Schedule C added income. So people are like, yeah, don't pay me $500. Pay me $499. So again, those are things as you're growing in your knowledge, skills, and abilities, you'll learn more about how to file your taxes. I know I'm talking a lot. I'll get some questions from you all. I only have a couple slides left. My top 10 tips. Originally, what was this, Julie, like 15? And she was like, people like 10s. Keep it in 10s. So here are 10 tips that I've gained from a lifetime, or 10 ideas and tips I have to share with you from my lifetime of side hustling. Number 1, be willing to fail. Try again, or try something else. You will fall flat on your face. You're going to come up with an idea and it doesn't work. Okay, cool, move on. If you think this is a great idea, it's just not working out, figure out, refine how you can do it differently, or decide if it's something you need to abandon and move on. Again, this isn't volunteer work, you're in this to make money. Second, just because you like an idea doesn't mean that your customers will, and vice versa. So you could be sold out and you're like, this is the greatest idea ever. But if nobody's willing to buy it or hire you to do it, then that chances are you think it's a great idea, but nobody else does. So again, try again, or try something else. 3, be intentional about expanding your knowledge, skills, and abilities. A lot of you probably, like me, you're going to be on Reddit or Instagram or whatever anyways. Start following people that do the thing that you're interested in doing for your side hustle so that you can grow in your knowledge and build some of those relationships. Like, I didn't know the world's largest power washing conference is actually held every year in Atlanta. So like that's something I wouldn't have known if I wasn't following like power washing pages and stuff on Facebook. I already mentioned this, but number 4, reviews and word of mouth are more valuable than cash when you're first starting. Again, if you make $50, but they go online and absolutely bash your product or your service, that $50 hasn't done you any good because it's probably a one-time thing. So focus on making your customers as happy as you can. Number 5, don't enter an oversaturated market unless you can add to it or disrupt it. So blogs. This is probably the first example that comes to mind. Everybody's like, blogs are like the new great American novel. I'm going to write the next great American novel. Well, everybody thinks that. So everybody's like, I'm going to come up with this blog and everyone's going to follow it. I'm going to make so much money and get all these followers. If you don't have something unique to say or unique to add, probably not. So if you see a market, there's already a ton of people in it, and you don't have a way of disrupting it or adding to it, then you might want to find something else. T-shirts are another thing. Now Amazon's made it super easy where you can actually just upload t-shirt designs on there and they'll sell. It's become so easy that thousands, if not tens of thousands of people are doing it. So if you're going to do something like that, I would say, again, find a niche area, a niche area that maybe is based around your fandoms and you know what people in that area might like to buy that's not otherwise widely available. But if you're just like making blessed t-shirts or something, there's 5,000 other people doing it. You're probably not going to make any money off of it. 6, stick to what you know. You may be like, I'm going to come up with an incredible app, and this app's going to change the world. But if you don't know anything about coding, and you don't have any friends that share that passion with you about developing the app, then you're going to pay a ton of money to hire programmers to do that for you. Where chances are you could have probably stuck to something you already knew and been making money while you're getting those knowledge, skills, and abilities you need to create the next app that's going to change the world. 8, the cheapest way to do something is often the poorest way to do it. So whether it be getting equipment for your podcasts, whether it be me getting equipment for doing exterior cleaning, just because you have access to something super cheap doesn't mean that's going to turn out the quality of product, quality of service that you want to associate with your name or your business. Which comes to the next one, number 8. It costs money to make money. Chris Gillibo, again, he has a book called The $100 Startup, where he lays out from marketing to getting started, setting up websites, all that. He lays out how you can do it for $100. It's still $100. Salads, you still gotta get your mason jars. You still have to get your ingredients, stuff like that. So realize you'll have to put a little bit of money into this, and that's where staying up on your profit margins, making sure that you're making enough money to make it valuable for you, and that you're not losing money. 9, ignore the naysayers, but listen to wisdom. Any of you tell family members, hey, I'm thinking about starting a side hustle, you'll probably get people going, psh, you side hustling? What do you know about starting a business? What do you know about doing this? What do you know about doing that? What do you know about planning people's vacations? There's always going to be naysayers. Ignore the naysayers, but if you're talking to somebody in that market or in that industry and you say, hey, here's my idea, and they say, yeah, we've thought about that, but this, and this. If it's somebody that's 10 or 15 years in that field and they're saying that we've just found that doesn't work, trust that probably just doesn't work. So ignore the naysayers, but learn to listen to wisdom. And 10, have fun. It shouldn't feel like a second job. Y'all, I love getting out and going to yard sales and finding stuff to flip. I love playing music. I feel at home either at a music festival or on stage somewhere. Again, my love for power washing, exterior cleaning started from me watching Satisfied videos. So it's one thing to watch other people do it. It's a whole other level of satisfaction being to do it yourself. So it shouldn't feel like a second job. Example of a successful side hustle. This is my father-in-law and mother-in-law, Johnny and Patricia Albertson. I love them dearly. So Johnny and I, we talk a lot about side hustles and stuff. And a couple years ago, Thanksgiving dinner, we're sitting around the table at their house, and Johnny goes, I'm going to become Santa Claus. Which we're like, of course you are, Johnny. This is the guy who quit his job and became a barber and opened a barber shop because somebody made a joke, hey, I'd even hire Johnny to cut my hair. And now he owns a barber shop. But Johnny was like, yeah, I love kids, and I think it'd be really cool. He was growing out a handlebar mustache. He was like, I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to become a professional Santa. So this is them. He's gone to Santa schools across the country, as has my mother-in-law. He's a member of the Real Bearded Santas, which, if you didn't know, there's documentaries about this. There's like cliques and like Santa gangs. It's really weird, but so he became a professional Santa, and he's actually become so successful with it that they use some of their side hustle money that they just bought property in Ocean Park, Washington, a block from the beach, and they are starting the construction of a beach house in Washington, largely being paid for from his side hustles. People want to give you money. You just gotta find a reason for them to do so. And also, in the summers, if I'm not around, I'll probably be in Washington at the beach. So 10 helpful resources. Again, I could have given you lots and lots and lots and lots of resources, but Julie said people like 10. So, side hustle school. If you're not a podcast person, you're like, I don't have time to listen to podcasts, give up 10 minutes of your day. He does an episode every day, and they're normally 10 minutes or less. And they're all stories of people who have either started side hustles that were successful or unsuccessful and things they learned from it. He gives all kinds of tips, tools. You're talking about the unsung heroes of Google Apps. He's always talking about here new apps and new tools are out there. 10 minutes a day. If you would rather read than listen to a podcast, any of Chris Guillebeau's books are fantastic. I suggest starting with the $100 Side Hustle. He has one called The Money Tree. I think one is called like 1,001 Side Hustle Tips, something like that. But it has Chris Guillebeau attached to it. He initially kind of rose to stardom in this area because he was working a job that he hated and decided he never wanted to have to work for anyone again, and he wanted to travel the world. And so he started a blog and started doing all these side hustles, pay for it. And he wrote a book called The Non-Conventional Life. And it's basically the story of how he got to travel the world and see every country through side hustle money. So he's the guru for this. YouTube. Y'all, I spend so much time on YouTube watching, whether it be plumbing for pressure washer machines or reviews of different chemicals, stuff like that. Whatever your area is, there's probably 50,000 videos related to whatever side hustle you're thinking about. Reach out to industry veterans. Some of the most knowledge that I've gained is by talking to people who already do what I'm interested in doing. Hop onto industry-specific message boards, websites, Reddit, Facebook groups, etc. Get involved in those communities. If you're new, sometimes they're jerks if you ask a question that everyone else has asked. So if you're curious about something as someone first entering that area, search, because they've probably already addressed it. But get to know those people, read the posts, because again, that's putting you with potentially hundreds or even thousands of industry professionals, so you can be learning from them. Fiverr and Canva. Fiverr, if you're wanting to come up with anything, basically from logos to need help with website design, if you want a theme song for your podcast, you can hire somebody on Fiverr for probably 10, 15 bucks to do it for you. Also, if you're really good at those things, Fiverr can be a side hustle for you. Sign up on Fiverr and somebody might say, hey, I need somebody to design a business card for me. I'll pay you 12 bucks to do it. Might take you 15 minutes to do it, but you just made 12 bucks 15 minutes. Spread that out. It's 48 bucks an hour. That's a lot more than we make as teachers, right? Canva is, if you like doing your own graphic design, it's a great free resource. It's kind of like Photoshop, but much more user-friendly and free online. I've tried pretty much name a website builder. I've tried it. I keep going back to Weebly. It's the hands down the easiest, most user-friendly website design platform that I've found. Gmail or Zoho Mail, set up an email address, make sure that it's not like jimbob37 at whatever. You want it to be related to your side hustle. The thing I like about Zoho Mail is, say you go to like GoDaddy or Name.com or something and you buy like my Living on a Sprayer exterior cleaning website is loasec.com. Now, if you want Gmail to make it, Tony@loasec.com, you have to pay for their business licenses, or their business fees and subscriptions, which I think is like $30 a month, something like that.
GoDaddy started as a side hustle.
GoDaddy started a side hustle. Zoho Mail, you can do it for free. So like service@ourlittlecub.com, I already own ourlittlecub.com. Zoho Mail let me set it up for my email address is free. Living on a Sprayer, set up through them for free. My band that I play with, our email set up through them. So you can pay Google, $30 a month to host your email or whatever it is, or Zoho will do it for free. Google Voice, I suggest not having your personal phone tied to your business. So download, just like we do for students, set up your own Google Voice number for your side hustle. That way it comes to your phone, but people don't have your direct phone number. Then Skillshare, Udemy. Skillshare and Udemy are both online platforms where you can go to extend your knowledge, skills, and abilities through digital classes. And Chris Gilbo talks about it a lot. A lot of people also make good money on there, making their own classes and putting them up. I added this on here. This is something I do for my students every year, but some of y'all might benefit from it as well. What's the thing we always see pop up on social media? Well, why didn't I learn about taxes when I was in school? Why didn't I learn about personal finance in school? Well, I have a website. It's just tinyurl.com/NeelyMoney. I don't know if I put it on your thing or not, but it just goes to my website where I actually put together a whole personal finance class. So if you've been curious about, crypto or different types of investments and ways of making money, there's me in a Care Bears outfit. I always show kids, teenage self-made millionaires, ways we spend money, different ways you can save money, budgeting, investing. All that's on there for you if you want access to it. Because as you start making more money from your side hustle, you got 3 things you can do. You can spend it, save it, or invest it. So hopefully those tools will be helpful for you in deciding how you want to spend, save, or invest your money. Okay, so that's been about 50 minutes of me talking. I'll open it up for the last couple minutes. Anybody have any questions that, I know I've been, trying to get you to drink from a fire hydrant, hitting you with all this info, but if you have any questions, maybe something I didn't address that you're curious about, feel free to fire away. Fantastic, that means I covered everything. Oh, got one.
You make money off of inventions.
Can you?
Can you, or could you make?
Absolutely. This is an invention.
Hey, Dr. Neely.
This is an invention.
Just for the sake of the video, will you restate his question?
Yeah. So the question was, can you make money from inventions? And absolutely, everything that you see around you, someone invented. Now, obviously, there's the legal side of filing for patents and things of that sort for legally securing it as your invention. But everything that you see around you, everything that's for sale online, somebody invented, so absolutely. That would fall under goods-based side hustle.
And you can also upgrade, something that you already have. If you were to find something different, that would be your specialty or your.
Absolutely. So you can do it either as a good or as a service. So like I said, if you're like, man, I really wish cell phone cases had magnets on the back so I could stick it to my fridge while I'm in the kitchen. Guess what? You can design that, put it on, and be like, hey, this is, Magnet Plus Pro, and people will buy it from you. Or you can do like I was talking about with Dusty, where he realized people like broken-in footballs. That's something he knows how to do, and he can get people to pay him money to do that for him. So yeah, good question. Anyone else? All right, so first of all, thank you for coming to this session. Second, I hope that it was profitable for you. And they're like I said, I'm around if you want to sit down and talk through your ideas and refine and bounce ideas off me. that's what I'm here for. I'm more than happy to help you out however I can. All right, thank y'all.